And now I want to thank you for your questions. So with that, let's start off with any question. Yes, ma'am. Hi. I'm the closest with the microphone here, so I'll give you my mic. Hi.
Mr. Romney, what is the first issue you will tackle on January 21st, 2013?
She's got the date, doesn't she? Boy. Well, there's some things that just have to be dealt with immediately. And right now, there's a cloud that's hanging over the healthcare sector, the employment sector. You've got employers that are wondering what's going to happen to their capacity to provide insurance for their employees. This is a huge cloud. So the first thing I'll do is to take an action to stop Obamacare in its tracks. Look, it's classic, which is healthcare has got some issues. And there's some things that we ought to do to make sure we solve those issues. For instance, people that have been working and develop a sickness, a so-called pre-existing condition, and then change jobs. And let's say they've been previously insured. Now they change jobs or they move somewhere. The fact that they can't get insurance again, that wouldn't make any sense at all. You've got to prevent that from happening. People shouldn't be dropped from insurance rolls because they get sick. We've got to fix that too. Right now we make it hard for individuals who want to buy insurance. If you're an employer of one person, yourself, good luck getting an insurance policy that's affordable. We've got to make it easier for small enterprises to be able to get insurance. And the cost of health care and health insurance going through the roof. We've got to fix those things. The president came in and said, I have the answer. We'll have government take it over. That's not the kind of answer we need in the 21st century. We need to get health care to work more like a consumer market with the kind of provisions that bring the cost down and get the quality up. I will do that. I will get health care to work for the American people, but I'm going to get rid of Obamacare. Thank you.
Thanks for taking my question. In this age of tough foreign competition, I think you would agree that we need to invest smart in America to help our country grow and get stronger. Based on that, I'd appreciate your comments on an investing strategy that seems to have resulted in several $1 million of your personal income taxes being paid to foreign countries instead of ours. And I'm referring to page 169 of your 2010 income tax return, where you took over $1.5 million in foreign tax credits in 10 years. Appreciate your comments.
I'll look at it. I'm not familiar with that. I didn't think I paid any foreign income taxes, but I'll be happy to take a look at it. Let's see. Yeah. Yes, please.
What are the most important qualities of leadership that you would say, and what's an example of someone that you would say would be a good role model as a leader?
Thank you. Best qualities of leadership, critical qualities of leadership. Vision, of course. Capacity to see what other people don't see. The capacity to see change and to be able to make adjustment before the change occurs. You look to leaders to have that kind of insight, that kind of capacity. Integrity. People won't follow someone who they don't believe is going to live by their own principles. Loyalty. Loyalty to the principle and the nation that follows them. Ability to work hard, to lead not just by pointing, but to lead also by walking forward and running hard, and making sure that others recognize that in you don't just have someone who speaks well, but someone who also works well and hard. And I mean, my role model is my dad. My dad was undaunted. I guess that's another word I'd use. Undaunted. Despite the odds, despite the circumstances, despite the challenges, plowed ahead. Leaders do that. When things are tough, they don't get terrified and turn in the other direction. They don't blame other people for things getting tough. They acknowledge their own mistakes. my dad didn't get a college degree, didn't get the time and money together to actually get a degree. When he married my mom, they couldn't afford a fancy honeymoon. They drove across the country in an old car. My dad sold paint out of the trunk of the car to pay for gasoline, to pay for hotel bills. But he went on to become head of a car company and then became governor of a state where he once sold aluminum paint. Undaunted, determined, indefatigable. The qualities of leadership are many. And I appreciate the fact that we've been led by good men and women over the years as a nation. From our founders, even through these days, we have around us many great leaders. I like your governor a lot. I think Governor Kasich is doing a heck of a job. Thank you. Sarah, I spoke with Sarah before the meeting began here, and she is 7 years old and a first grader, and she raised her hand. So does she really have a question, Dad? She does. Okay, Sarah.
How are you going to stop wasting money for my future?
There you go. For those that didn't hear it, are you going to stop wasting money for your future? And let me tell you, that is a very, very good question. Because what we have right now is politicians promising lots of free stuff. Free for me and my generation, and maybe for a lot of you, but not free for her. Because as we spend money we don't have, we're borrowing money from other people, and in some cases from other nations, and it's going to have to be paid with interest. It's like a credit card. Right now, low introductory rate. Right now, by virtue of a whole series of financial mechanics, they're able to keep the rates real low. But you know, in the future, the rates are likely to go up, and you're going to have to pay for it. And I find that unacceptable. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take everything the government does, put it on a list of programs, and I'm going to say to those, as I look at those programs, is this program so critical it's worth borrowing money from China to pay for it? And if it doesn't pass that test, I'll get rid of it. And I'm also going to take a lot of programs that are critical and send them back to the state where they can be run more efficiently and with less fraud and abuse. So my job is to get America on track to have a balanced budget. Now, I'm not going to cut $1 trillion in the first year. And I heard a question, why not? And the reason is taking $1 trillion out of a $15 trillion economy would cause our economy to shrink. It would put a lot of people out of work. But I'm going to eliminate programs and solve our long-term problems such that we get a balanced budget and we get America to a position where we can get rid of this extraordinary debt that will strangle the future generations. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. The microphone right behind you.
We have a president right now that is operating outside the structure of our Constitution. And I want to know, yeah, I do agree he should be tried for treason. But I want to know what you are going to be able to do to help restore balance between the three branches of government and what you're going to be able to do to restore our Constitution in this country.
Well, as I'm sure you do, I happen to believe that the Constitution was not just brilliant, but probably inspired. I believe the same thing about the Declaration of Independence. And I believe, unlike what the president said about the Supreme Court, where he suggested that it was, not just suggested, he said that it would be unprecedented for the Supreme Court to overturn a decision by the legislature. Actually, that's their role and has been since Marbury versus Madison in the early 1800s. And so I will respect the different branches of government if I'm fortunate enough to become president. And if you, one more thing I'll mention in that regard, and if you've got some specifics you want me to address in terms of policy, I'm happy to, go ahead.
Specifically, some of the executive orders that he has done, and just in the last 3 weeks, some of the executive orders that he has made with regard to the Secret Service and their protection of people and people being allowed to exercise their First Amendment right to protest in the presence of the Secret Service. And some of those other types of executive orders that he has done just recently.
I'm not familiar with the orders with regards to the Secret Service, but I'll be happy to take a look at what he's done with regards to the Secret Service and protests. We obviously have a right to protest in this country and express our viewpoints. At the same time, we want to have people who are being protected not be in danger. So I'll see specifically what he has in mind, and obviously we've all been disappointed by I have to hold on there, sir. We've been disappointed by the number of the things that have happened at the government level, but I'll look at those executive orders. I would reserve the right, if I were president, to put in place executive orders. One I'd put in place that I mentioned off the top was that I would have in place an executive order that grants a waiver from Obamacare to all 50 states, and that's that'll be a battle. All right, that'll be a battle. So I will use that provision in ways I think are appropriate and constitutional, and ultimately the Congress and the Supreme Court and I will have the experience of defining exactly what those lines might be. Thank you. Let's see, what do we have? Yes, sir, right there. There's a young man there with a microphone. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kyle. I go to medical school at Case Western Reserve University, just down the street. So my question was related to that about graduate education in general. We talk here a lot about investing in our future and borrowing too much. Unfortunately, graduate education is expensive, and my mom's not able to pick up that $70,000 a year tab, but it's all worth it. So what are your thoughts on education and financing so that more individuals like myself who can't afford it but can still grow up and then be the future of America?
Yeah, the answer is not to say let's have the federal government give unlimited loans, no interest to everybody that wants them. All right, because and I know that's going to be. By the way, you're going to hear that in an effort to try and re-engage college students and graduate students to get involved in the Obama campaign, and they're pulling back. Obviously, they're not as enthusiastic as they were. In an effort to try and get them engaged, he's going to promise giving a lot of free stuff to them. And to say, I'll pay for your education, or I'll get rid of the loans, or I don't know. I'm only guessing, but my expectation is he's going to find, as politicians do, promises of free stuff as a way to try and get people to vote for him. And we've heard that time and time again, but the country's in the balance. We can't promise money we don't have, and we should not borrow for promises by politicians. So what do I do? So how do I help? We have to find a way to get higher education to be more competitive and to take advantage of the technology of today. Businesses like this one use technology, software, computer systems to bring down their cost and to become more productive. Colleges and institutions of higher learning need to take advantage of some of those things. Heard about one college that's saying that I think every semester people are supposed to take one cyber course, one online learning course as a way of helping bring down cost. I think I read that MIT and Harvard have a joint program now that provides education to people online. We're going to have to take advantage of some of these innovations and get education, get these institutions of higher learning to compete with one another to find ways to provide the same educational experience at lower cost. Because, I mean, there was a time, I remember when I know it sounds like forever ago, and it was forever ago, but there was a time when people, by and large, could pay for college with their summer job and by working during the school year. That, you know, and I'm seeing some people here, that's not the case anymore. Not 70,000 after-tax dollars, all right? That's yeah, you wish, exactly. And so we've got to find a way to say, you know what? Why has education become so expensive? And how can we get it to be more cost-effective? And just writing checks from government is, in my opinion, not the right way to get it done. Yeah, thank you. Question over there.
Here, I have the mic. Pardon me, but Mr. Romney, when Rob Portman was campaigning in 2008 here in the state of Ohio, he addressed the Cuyahoga Valley Republican Club, And from the floor, I raised this question. I asked him if he could elaborate on a small subcommittee in the House somewhere from about 1984 that has been working up a bill to nationalize the retirement plans of everybody in this room, IRAs and 401ks, et cetera. And he acknowledged that that has been happening. Where is that legislation at this moment, and what would you do about it?
Never heard of it. And I can't imagine nationalizing the IRAs or 401ks of the American people. And if I'm president of the United States, I will not nationalize the IRAs or 401ks of the American people. Here's a gentleman up here. You got a microphone. Whoops. Right to your right, there's a microphone. All right, you can hold it or he will. There you go.
President Romney. I'm one of 17 million veterans, not all alive now, from World War II. My companions and I all kind of agree when we speak about the situations. And the one that concerns us, of course, is the young people and the young and males and females that we now have in the armed services, and regarding their welfare and regarding the situation, the foreign situation in the world that seems to require our intervention in every little thing, with the result of the loss of American lives. Sometimes it seems as if they are needless. I know they're not. I know they're doing their job. You can't blame the soldiers and sailors and the Marines that are doing their job. They're doing a wonderful job. But I'm wondering, what can we do, and what are your ideas regarding foreign affairs and our entanglements in them?
Thank you. That's a big topic, of course. That's a big topic. And I happen to believe that in foreign affairs generally, in dealing with nations that have a course choice to make, whether they're going to be friendly to human rights, to principles of freedom and democracy, or whether instead they're going to become more entrenched in authoritarianism. That as we deal with these nations, it is important for them to know exactly where we stand, for us to stand for our principles, and for America to be strong. And by that I mean, by that I mean this, which is that our communication with other nations and our ability to help lead them towards prosperity and freedom is enhanced if America is strong morally, economically, and militarily. And so I want to make sure we have a strong military, not so that we can win wars, although if we were in one, of course we want to be able to win it, but I want to have a strong military also to prevent wars and to help encourage people to move towards American and if you will, eternal principles of freedom and opportunity and human rights. Now, there are circumstances in the world today which are threatening and of concern. And number one on the list, of course, is Iran becoming nuclear. Iran is the world's national supporter of terror, and has as its objective in the words of their President Ahmadinejad, the elimination of our friend Israel. Iran with fissile material which they could provide to Hezbollah or Hamas or to other terror groups could execute terror in other parts of the world and ultimately here. Hezbollah now exists in Latin America. And so it's important for us not to allow Iran to become a nuclear power and not to be able to provide that fissile material to any entity that might use it against us. And so I would reserve the right to take whatever action is necessary to prevent Iran from becoming nuclear. At the same time, At the same time, there are other nations that are charting their course, developing nations, deciding what their future will be. I would like to work with them. I want to increase trade with them. I want to encourage them to move towards modernity, to move towards an economic system which provides for greater freedom for their people. And that's something which I consider part of the role of the President of the United States and his administration. Now, one more point let me make with regards to Iran, and that is that there is a little sliver of hope with regards to Iran, and it relates to Syria. Syria is Iran's source of access to the Mediterranean. Syria is Iran's only Arab ally. Syria has been a source of Iran being able to arm Hezbollah in Lebanon. And Syria is now in tumult. And if Assad were to leave, and if Syria were to take a less Iran-driven course, it would be a good thing for the world. And the President of the United States should be leading an effort to help encourage Syria to make that change rather than waiting for someone else to do it. Gentleman back here.
Welcome to Cleveland, Governor Romney. Just wanted to know about what your timeline is on the XL pipeline if you were to be elected. And also Ohio is blessed with an abundance of gas and oil. So how does Ohio fit in your energy policy?
Thank you. Ohio's got natural gas, oil, coal, and those resources are extraordinarily valuable and in short supply throughout the world and abundant here and abundant in America. And the idea of making it harder and harder to take advantage of those resources makes no sense to me. In my view, the efforts to make it almost impossible to mine coal economically or to use it economically, to suggest that building a new coal-powered electric plant would put you bankrupt, that's not the kind of policy I think makes sense in a nation that has the kind of coal we have. The efforts to try and stop the fracking for natural gas, in my opinion, does not make a lot of sense. Natural gas is an extraordinary blessing. We have the capacity for natural gas and coal and oil to make us an extraordinary energy producer and to make energy lower cost in America. And by the way, manufacturing, let me just underscore something. Manufacturing goes to the point where the costs are most competitive. And it's not just labor, it's energy, transportation cost, taxation costs, regulatory costs, but energy is a big piece of it. And in some businesses like this one, my guess is the energy bill is pretty substantial. I mean, to get one of those press, my goodness, look at the size of that press. How many ton press is that? 800-ton press. 3,000-ton press. And my guess is when the electric switch is turned on, it draws a little power. And just a little. And so the capacity of manufacturing to be in Ohio or to be in America is directly related to what the cost is of electricity. And windmills and solar are great, and we're going to develop them, and perhaps that technology will become economic. But right now, it's multiples of the cost of natural gas or oil or coal. So I want to develop those resources aggressively and get the pipeline. Can't tell you the exact date, but as quickly as we can get it. It's not going to come in a year, but get it as quickly as we possibly can, so we can show to manufacturers that are here or thinking about moving here that as they think about making plans to expand in America, that energy costs will be reasonable, the sources of energy will be reliable, therefore they'll make those investments, hire people, and we can get more demand for employees. You might ask, how do you get higher wages for folks? How do you get higher wages? And the answer is, you have so many employers competing to hire people that they have to raise the benefits and the wages to be able to secure you. It's supply and demand. You can try and artificially raise wages, but that collapses over time. Because if you artificially raise wages, the employers go elsewhere. They go to other countries or other states. You have to get competition and between employers. I want to make this the place that manufacturing wants to come again, where jobs come back to America. And energy's a big part of that. I'm told I get one more question here, and there's a hand right there, and here comes a microphone right behind you. Hi.
Hi. I got it. Yay. There are two things that I think are critically important. This is the things that I want you to be passionate about. Number one, our country's relationship with Israel. And number two, I'm very concerned about partial birth abortion.
Thank you. On the latter, I agree with you, and will do all in my power to prevent partial birth abortion from being legal in this country, number one. Number two, I also agree with you with regards to Israel and also with our other friends in the world. Israel's in a very dangerous place, and so we pay a lot of attention to Israel. It's surrounded by a lot of folks that don't like him. And in some cases, some of those nations suggest hostile intent towards Israel and towards its existence. And that puts upon us a special responsibility to stand by our friends, Israel being among our greatest friends on the planet. And there are friends. There are friends not just because they're nice to us. There are friends because we share our values. They believe in freedom. They believe in freedom of speech. I'm told if you want to find a place that's really critical of Israel, just go to the Israeli newspapers, all right? They'll talk. I mean, it's like our newspapers. This is a wonderful thing in a free economy to have the capacity of people to express their views and to do so publicly. And so we will stand with Israel. We will show something I think this president has not done well enough, that it's better to be an American friend than an American foe. We will stand by our friends. And whether that's on one side of the world or another, this is a nation that respects those who share those values. And we're in a bit of a global competition. It's not military, except perhaps with regards to the jihadists, the radical, violent jihadists who would attack one another and attack us. It's a competition of ideas and philosophies. China and others think that an authoritarian government which restricts freedom can be a highly effective economy and power. Russia, likewise authoritarian and blessed with extraordinary energy resources, is becoming resurgent and has a very different view than ours with regards to freedom and human rights. And then there's ourselves, where we combine economic freedom and political freedom and personal freedom in a way that has changed us and changed the world. We will stand with people who stand for freedom and help move the others towards freedom as well. You guys, you are very kind to be here and spend some time with me. It counts. What we're doing matters. This is an election where former First Lady Barbara Bush said, "This is the most important election of my lifetime." Now, given the fact that she has a husband and a son who are presidents, that's saying something. You may have gotten robocalls in Ohio from First Lady Barbara Bush. She'd never done robocalls before. But we asked her to help out, and she said, yeah, this is important. This is a question about what kind of America we're going to have. This is a question about whether we're going to have an America more and more and more dependent on government, which, by the way, gets deeper and deeper and deeper in debt, or whether instead we're going to be a nation which returns to the principles of freedom and free enterprise and economic freedom. You guys, you're the best. Thank you so very much. Thank you.